Hey, Dana. Are you alive?
This is what you call the late morning mule deer snooze. The deer are bedded, and you can't do anything till the wind comes out. So this is where you make up your ground on the 6 hours of sleep at night you get. Usually steal 1 or 2 back here. In the sun, soaking it up like a mule deer. Feels nice.
Each year, when the winds of fall slowly push us back into hunting season, there are a few places on this earth that I would rather be than sitting on the prairies of southern Alberta, watching the sun illuminate the antlers of giant old muley bucks through my phone scope. Sitting on the edge of a coulee watching fuzzy antlered deer is exactly how we've began our fall season for the past several years now. And let's be honest, we've been very fortunate during that stretch of time. But as much as I hate to say it, I can't help but feel like the glory days of southern Alberta's mule deer hunting may be behind us. With the growing popularity of the hunt, more and more people are flooding into the remaining archery zones, putting more pressure on the few landowners in the region that support hunting. And of course, with so many new people, inevitably comes a few bad apples that can ruin it for the rest of us. Land is quickly becoming harder to access, and deer numbers seem to be decreasing year over year. What used to be a lucrative hunt filled with several hundreds of deer a day has now turned into a grind to find and nail down one good mature shooter buck to chase after. Meaning that once you do, every move you make becomes that much more important.
I guess this is it. Last stalk of the trip. We only really had one half-ass stalk yesterday. We got busted out by a doe. But we finally found, we've been all morning trying to locate this big, giant framed, typical 4x4. The biggest deer we've seen since we've been down here. And let me tell you, he is as far away from the bikes and the trucks as we could possibly get on this property. We chose not to come yesterday because I still don't know how we're going to get him out if we kill him. But last day, he was sitting up there. We seen him on the skyline through the Vortex spotting scope. And he's just too big not to go after. So we came. I spent probably the last 4 hours trying to figure out where he was bedded. And I finally located him. And he's actually only like 200 yards up and over the hill from where Darcy's been sitting all morning. So we dropped our stuff, grabbed the bow. You know the routine. Same thing we say every time before a stalk. And I don't think it's going to take us long to just creep up. I know exactly where he is. If I can locate a big rock that I pinpointed, he's going to be just below that and to the left. I don't know who he's with. I do know that he's recently shed his velvet. He was full velvet this morning, and now he's just bright red. So he got into the sagebrush, ripped his velvet off in the last 4 hours. So fingers crossed, but I don't know how we're going to get him out of here. We'll cross that bridge if we get to it.
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Covert Scouting Cameras, Vortex Optics, Old Smokes Coffee, Top Notch Taxidermy Studio, and the MD of Bonneville.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the MD of Bonneville. Lake adventures happen here.
The hardest part is trying to landmark him, but I picked out a big rock from 800 yards over there. And I'm pretty sure that's our white rock, so gotta get another 100 yards, dip down and around, set up somewhere there in the sage. If it's not, then he's in the next one, but we can't go to the other one first because of our wind, so we'll check that one, which I'm pretty sure it is. And if not, then we'll go upwind to the next one.
Without a doubt, the biggest challenge when stalking these deer is trying to landmark them from 500 yards away and then sneak your way to within 30 yards of that spot. When they're tucked into the brush on a steep side hill, it becomes nothing more than an educated guess. We slowly worked our way down the ledge, trying desperately to spot an inch of antler through the dense brush below us. The further forward we moved, the more nervous I got. But what I didn't expect was to see him stand up directly beside us, less than 5 yards away. On the last afternoon of our hunt, in the last 2 hours, we managed to somehow work our way too close to where that buck was bedded. He stood up on his own, stretched, and slowly worked his way through a nice opening 5 yards away. But when I drew my bow back, my PX2 broadhead caught on a branch, making a slight noise, and pushed him right through my only shooting window. He never did calm down, and eventually went up and over the top of the ridge without ever giving me an opportunity. As I headed north the next day to start chasing elk with some good friends, Cory and his good friend Evan were once again heading down south to try and fill a few tags of their own.
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Wood Wheaton Super Center, True Fire Releases, Victory Archery, Black Widow Innovations, Wapiti River Outdoors, and Federal Premium Ammunition.
This segment of the show is brought to you by Deluxe Wall Tents, built in Canada for Canadian conditions.
Knock another one. Right.
After spending 4 hours laying on the side of the hill baking in the early September sun, this buck finally stood up and presented Cory with the shot. He only had a small window shooting through some brush. To be honest, it was a really tough shot. When the buck busted from the brush, Cory was certain that he had hit him. But watching him run over the next ridge, it quickly became obvious that he hadn't. The trials of mule deer hunting are some of the most unforgiving. 1 minute, you're on top of the world, and the next, you're beaten into the ground. We often wonder what we could have done differently, but the truth is, sometimes things just don't work out. It would be a few more days before Cory would find himself watching another shooter buck bedded in a stalkable position. With conditions lining up nicely, they once again tried to move into position for a shot. This stalk was too perfect. Cory slipped into range quickly and waited patiently for him to stand up. But as luck would have it, a quick swirl of wind had this buck running from his bed, forcing Cory to watch as he too had slipped through his fingers. With his hunt quickly coming to a close, Cory joined up with his good friend Matt Shaw for the last few days, hoping to turn things around. And it wasn't until the last morning of their hunt that they finally found the deer they were looking for, bedded all by himself in a low depression. It wasn't an ideal stalk, but they had to try.
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Mad Ramps, Scree Gear, High Mountain Seasonings, Block Targets, iHunter, Glendale Targets, and Deluxe Wall Tents. This segment of Fatal Impact is brought to you by Tourism Saskatchewan.
This segment of the show is brought to you by Wood Wheaton Supercenter, a proud supporter of our outdoor heritage.
Look at how heavy he is, man. Look how heavy this deer is.
Oh, he's got a sticker there.
Where?
Off his G3. Left side.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, he does? Oh, he does.
Little ring holder.
Little ring holder, yeah.
A nice solid deer.
Absolutely. This thing is got brow tines. He's heavy. Nice 4x4. Yeah, 100% he's got a sticker. But look how heavy this is. An old deer. Old deer for sure. Look how heavy this thing is, man. I'd thank Matt Shaw for having me out again too. It's been a few years since I shot one, but I'm freaking happy with this thing. Crazy. Could not ask for a better deer. I haven't shot a deer since 2017. I've definitely put a lot of effort into it, that's for sure, but I gotta thank Matt Shaw for having me out and hunting with him. We've been doing lots of hunting together in the past couple years and we've been pretty successful. So let's add another hunt to the success list, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is just a crazy old deer. Good 4x4. Good fronts on him, good everything. I'm absolutely happy with him. He's not even that far from the truck either, so we got a easier pack out. We're probably gonna get him gutted. It's supposed to be 27 degrees here today. So we'll get him gutted, skinned up and hung up and cooling down. And see if we can find, maybe do some gopher shooting or some coyote hunting this afternoon.
Sounds good.
Excellent.